So I want to talk about the inflammatory response today. And I like to use a metaphor when I talk about this. So when there's an injury in your body, and it could be something like a paper cut, it could be something like a sprained ankle, it could be something as severe as something needs to get amputated. There was an accident, that kind of thing. The body's an amazing place. And if you think of it kind of like a big city, um, there's the inflammatory response is like the first aid squad and the fire trucks and the police, right? They're there to help protect the big city. And we need them. We need an inflammatory response to keep us safe. So let's say it's a paper cut. Start easy. It's a paper cut in your index finger. You get the paper cut, your finger calls 911, which is your brain. And your finger says, "Hey brain, we have an emergency." And the brain, just like the 911 operator, says, "Where's the emergency?" And it says, "Right here in our finger." And then the brain says, "Okay, how severe is the emergency?" And the finger says, "Well, we're bleeding. It's not that much. And it's only in this finger." And the brain says, "Okay, um, what is the emergency?" And your finger says, "We're bleeding." Okay. Then this is where it gets super, super cool. The brain sends out what it thinks it needs to help that emergency. So it sends out everybody. It sends out the fire trucks, the police cars, and the first aid squad. And when the fire trucks, police cars, and first aid squad get there, and at a cellular level, this is things like red blood cells and white blood cells, and what we call these like natural killer cells. And they're the body's protective response. So they all get to the area, they all get to the paper cut. And this, of course, is happening chemically. They look around and they say, "Oh, okay, it's paper cut. We have a laceration of the skin, and that's as deep as it goes. It doesn't go down into muscle. It doesn't go down into bone. We just need to stay here to repair the skin, right? The skin is close together. All right, so we need more red blood cells and more white blood cells to go fight any potential infection that's there." And that's why it feels like the area gets red or the area throbs. That's your body doing what it's supposed to naturally do. So where this becomes a problem is if, just like it would in a big city, like if the fire trucks stick around too long, or the police cars stick around too long, or the first aid squad sticks around too long, it causes traffic. It causes a buildup, and there's no real reason for them to stick around. They're just hanging. So if someone has an underlying condition or like an autoimmune disease, something like that, it can cause the inflammation to stick around there longer. And I would just use the example of a paper cut. But let's say it was a knee injury, right? Someone twisted wrong on the tennis court, or overuse injuries are a little different, but like has a tennis elbow or a golfer's elbow, that kind of thing. Where inflammation can become a problem is if those fire trucks and police cars and first aid squad stick around just for the sake of sticking around, right? They cause a backup, they cause a buildup in traffic, they cause more problems than they help. And this is what can cause people to come see me in the PT clinic when they've had a chronic issue. And there's any number of reasons that inflammation might stick around. Sometimes it's because we didn't handle the initial emergency well, and that can happen. That can happen because of stress. That can happen because of we fight through it. We've all been there, right? Oh, I just ignored it, and it hasn't really gone away yet. Your body sends you signals, and we should listen to the signals. That's the bottom line for this one. So that's a very simple metaphor, but pretty accurate in as far as explaining how the inflammatory response works, why we need it, we absolutely need it to work. We need it to work appropriately. But if we didn't have an inflammatory response, we would be in much bigger trouble than if we had to survive without one. We wouldn't survive very long. Let's put it that way. I appreciate you. Thank you for spending some time with me today. Keep getting better every day.